Hello and welcome to The Lobby. It's everyone's biggest worry, feeling safe out and about. And those fears are well founded as streets are plagued with out-of-control kids looking for trouble, fueled by cheap alcohol and drugs. More disturbingly, their violence knows no bounds, happy to kick and beat someone to death for daring to complain. And a knife is never far away to resolve disputes among themselves. A report out today says the fear of violence has a corrosive effect on society, and it costs us £250 million a week. Steve Keeling has this report.
They are the familiar images of a society struggling to fight crime and antisocial behaviour. Is it a battle we can win? What can we do about it? This is Newark in Nottinghamshire, Middle England. Next week, the House of Commons Select Committee on Home Affairs will visit here to see how the town's policed, to find out what success there's been and, equally crucially, what more can be done. This is what the lobby found out when we came here. There's an African saying that it takes a village to raise a child. It's what they believe in Newark too. The unique coffee bar is their way of doing it. Here, youngsters who've lost their way, at school and generally, are helped to find their way back before it's too late.
Went to another place like this, but smaller, and I didn't really get on there because I think it was because I was quite young and I was immature, but I've matured a lot since I've been here and I'm getting quite a lot out of it.
Among other things, the youngsters helped to run a recycling shop. The aim, to give them a feel for work, a sense of responsibility and some hands-on experience. It's all part of a mix Unique believes heads the youngsters off before they become trapped in a spiral of antisocial behaviour and criminality.
Potentially all young people are in danger of being involved in petty crime at certain stages, depending on where they are. What's important is that they have somewhere to go. When we set up Unique Coffee Bar, we asked the young people of Newark what they wanted. They were involved completely. I think that's the secret to engaging young people, is to actually ask them.
All the money raised here goes to help the work of the Unique charity, and it's a lovely irony, isn't it, that some of the youngsters here in Newark are being given a second chance because someone somewhere saw value in something other people simply couldn't. They say there are lies, damn lies and statistics, but the most recent ones in Newark suggest something's going right. Overall, crime's down by 4.4%. That's some 700 fewer offences than in the same period last year. Criminal damage is down by 13%, burglaries by 15% and serious assaults by 20%.
Spin, political spin, because it makes people feel safe.
Keith Girling is a Conservative county councillor who chairs the Safer Neighbourhood campaign on the Hortonville estate. Several agencies working together to stage a concerted attack on crime and antisocial behaviour. It starts at street level.
It's about attitudes, isn't it? If people understand that they can't get away with it, if they understand that actually it's not acceptable by the community, then they start to understand that and realise that, and their attitudes then change.
So what's the relationship between that kind of zero tolerance on a social level, dirty gardens and mattresses and cars, and crime?
Well, it's all linked, isn't it? Because if you can get away with leaving your car sort of parked in a bad place or doing maintenance on your car and making the area scruffy, if you don't have to worry about taxing it, people naturally push limits. So it's all about saying, no, your limit's there.
Hello there.
High visibility foot patrols are part of it too. It's the modern way, but in fact, nothing new to Tim Birch, a beat sergeant with 30 years of service behind him.
We've gone back in time, I think. I was a rural policeman many years ago out at Crockwell Bishop, and I used to police 10 villages out there, and there were a lot of contact with the public and the partners that we now work with on an official basis. It was sort of non-official in those days.
We police by consent, and the information we get about criminals and about antisocial behaviour has to come from the public. So we need to police with the confidence of the public, so that the better we reach out to the public and the more time we spend with them and understand what their needs are, the better return we will get. There's a lot of media coverage on crime and serious crime, but the facts are that crime is reducing.
Right, there might be some places, but not here.
There's never a copper when you want one. That's always the issue around here.
I don't think it's changed a lot, to be honest with you. So that's why I'm re-moving again.
I know the papers and the television, highlight it, but I often feel perhaps they they do a little bit too much.
So, confusion or different perceptions, unfounded fears or bitter experience. Whatever the case, plenty for MPs to reflect upon during their journey from Westminster.
Well, as we heard in Steve's report, the Home Affairs Select Committee meets in Newark on Monday to look at policing. Meanwhile, this week, Home Office Minister and Gedling MP Vernon Coker launched yet another initiative aimed at combating violent crime.
We'll see the introduction of things like knife arches. We'll see those police forces across the whole of the Midlands having access to wands, which will help them if they're looking to try and see whether people are in possession of a knife on the street. We'll see tougher sentencing, all of those sorts of things going on. We'll see weapons awareness training in schools, all of those different types of things happening. People will see a very real difference and be reassured that we're tackling serious violence.
Your friend and your...
Well, I'm joined now by the Chairman of the Home Affairs Select Committee and Leicester East MP Keith Vaz, and Newark MP and member of that committee, Patrick Mercer. Patrick, if I can come to you first of all, do you think this latest government plan is really going to make a difference? Is this what we've all been waiting for?
It's not what we've all been waiting for, Alex, but it is facing in the right direction, and I don't want to damn it, because clearly the intentions are good. What I would much prefer to see, though, I'm afraid, echoing the voices of my constituents, is not just more police officers, but effective police officers. Police officers, regular police officers or specials, rather than PCSOs, police community support officers, who don't have the powers of regular officers, and allowing those officers to get out on the street, keeping them away from their desks and not binding them in bureaucracy.
Keith Vaz, isn't the problem here that we've had 11 years of a Labour government? You promised that you were going to be tough on crime and tough on the causes of crime, but that simply hasn't happened.
As we've heard from the programme, crime has come down, but the purpose of coming to Newark was to look at the way in which we can deal with, in a sense, new forms of crime.
You're talking about when you go on Monday for your Select Committee
Exactly.
meeting.
I mean, this is a very important inquiry. We're going to look at all aspects of policing, the causes of crime. We're going to look at the availability of alcohol, whether some of these initiatives, worthy though they are, whether they work. We're coming to Newark because it's in the heart of England. Obviously is also a tribute to Patrick for the work that he has done as a member of our committee in highlighting these issues. But what we want to do is to find out
Why has
from
it taken 11 years, though, to get to this point? Why are we suddenly having this now?
Well, we decided to come out because this is an inquiry we're conducting. We're not part of the government.
No, absolutely, I understand that. But obviously you feel it's important, even though you've had 11 years of a Labour government.
Well, I've not been chairman of the Select Committee for 11 years. But the reason why we're here is to assess the impact of these initiatives and make recommendations of our own. Whether or not, for example, police officers ought to have handheld computers. Would it be better for them in the use of their time? Should we, as Tesco suggested today, ban alcohol in certain cases? So these are very important issues that affect people in Newark and the rest of the Midlands and the country.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you did say there that crime is coming down. We have had, we do know, for example, that in Leicestershire, 90% of people who are caught carrying a knife are never in prison for it or convicted. So that's not great, is it?
Those are one of the issues we have to examine, and I'm very pleased that both the Chief Constable of Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire will be with us on Monday, because I think it's very important to find out what the police need in order to conduct effective policing. But you have to ask the people what they think should be the solution. It's not always the politicians and governments that have the answers.
Patrick, is part of the problem here that the police have got the powers if they want to implement them, but they just don't? For example, 4 years for carrying a knife very rarely happens.
I think that is part of the problem. I think that certainly there are powers available, but I think sometimes that the judicial system, the bureaucracy of the system, makes it almost impossible to invoke those powers. And I just echo what Keith has said, that the point of this visit on Monday to Newark, it's not a governmentally controlled committee. It comes from all the parties. We are going out to talk to people to see whether the initiatives that the government and the opposition has suggested in some cases, whether they're actually working. And instead of picking away and criticising the police force, saying to the police, look, it is difficult sometimes to put these things into practice. Tell us what we can do to help you to become more effective policemen and policewomen. And I think it's a step very much in the right direction.